Hi, welcome to the Lifestyle Herbalists, the podcast where holistic wellness meets everyday living. I'm your host, Dabney. I'm a registered dental hygienist, a clinical herbalist, and a certified health coach.
And I'm your co-host, Sabrina Cooper, a registered dental hygienist with a bachelor's in oral health promotion, a certified culinary nutritionist and herbalist, and a mindfulness and mindful eating coach. Together, we explore the intersection of holistic health, herbal wisdom, and joyful living. From plant-powered remedies to kitchen medicine, mindful moments, and conversations that feed the soul, we're here to help you feel vibrant, grounded, and inspired in your daily life. So steep a cup of something soothing, settle in, and let's grow well together one episode at a time, bringing you a healthy dose of happiness.
Hello, and welcome back to the Lifestyle Herbalists. I can't believe I'm saying this, but today marks our 100th episode. When Sabrina and I started this podcast, we simply wanted to have conversations around herbs, mindfulness, lifestyles, and wellness to bring people a little dose of happiness. We wanted to share what we were learning and create a space where people could explore their own health from a more holistic perspective. Well, over the last 99 episodes, we've talked to people who are in the wellness field with nutrition, wellness, with herbalists, other practitioners, educators, and really passionate individuals who have shared their wisdom, experiences, and stories, and why they are actually into the wellness field as well. And as I prepared for this episode, I asked myself, what are the biggest lessons that keep showing up? And I have to say, it's curiosity. People are curious about herbalism. They're curious to know more about their oral health. They're curious to know why they're doing all the things they think are right, yet they still don't feel as good as they want to. Another question I ask myself is, what have I learned? What have I learned with having guests and with Sabrina and I having conversations about these episodes? And I've learned a lot about EMF, about toxins that I never really considered about. I've learned about holistic ways of mindfulness and slowing down with my own eating. And all of these are just gentle reminders for myself to practice what I preach. As I reflect further, I wonder, what do I wish everyone understood about their own health? And I think I would want people to understand that they are in control of their health. We get to choose, and you get to choose, whether you're putting something on your plate that is going to feed your health or feed disease. And yet the ultimate choice is ours to make. So oftentimes we give our ownership to our health to fast food restaurants or to convenience foods or to our doctors, and they only have a snippet of time with us. We live with ourselves 24/7. No one knows our body better than we do. So today I want to share some of those lessons with you. And I also want to share what we're headed for in the next 100 episodes. So lesson 1. One of the most important things I've learned is that symptoms are not random. Whether it's bleeding gums, bad breath, feeling tired or fatigued, digestive discomfort, poor sleep, anxiety, sugar cravings, and brain fog, this is our body communicating to us. So oftentimes we're taught to silence those symptoms rather than becoming curious about them. But what if those symptoms are actually clues? What if they're invitations to dig deeper? In dentistry, I see this every day. A patient may come in because their gums are bleeding, or because they have a malodor or something strange that's going on. But when we begin asking questions to uncover the issues, we often find out that maybe they're under a lot of stress, or that their blood sugar is out of balance. Maybe their nutrition isn't optimal. They haven't gotten a good night's sleep in a very long time. It could even be that the medications are interfering with something, inflammation, or even digestion. The body is wholeheartedly connected and nothing happens in isolations. Just this week, I had a patient that I've been seeing for years, and it was probably 3 or 4 years ago that I noticed that the last couple of times she'd come to see me for her routine exam and her hygiene visit, that her gums were really bleeding. And this is a professional woman. She teaches at a local university, highly educated, but very stressed. She had 2 young children and trying to manage a full-time career, full-time mommyhood, and all the things that life throws at us. So we talked about her diet, her stress level, her sleeping. Mainly with the diet is that I had an inkling that maybe there was something headed towards something like a blood sugar imbalance or diabetes. Well, shortly thereafter, she did make an appointment with her PCP, and she did find out that her A1C, which is a 3-month range of your blood sugar, was elevated, and she was considered pre-diabetic. So she took matters into her own hands. I coached her along the way. But I saw her this past week, and she said, my blood sugar has been in check for several years now, and my doctor says I'm well controlled. I don't need medication, and she's very pleased. And she says, you know what? You saw it first. And that is how wonderful oral health is. Like when people come into the dentist and we're looking at the things, we are able to see things that show up before even blood tests do. So don't skip the dentist. Don't skip your oral health. It is so important to give us clues. Our body is all interconnected, and nothing happens in isolation. Lesson number 2. As we just said, the mouth is not separate from the body. It's become one of my biggest passions. For many years, people thought oral health was simply about brushing and flossing. But now we know so much more. The mouth is the beginning of the digestive system. It's home to a complex microbiome. It's influenced by hormones, nutrition, stress, medications, breathing patterns, hydration, and sleep. When we see things like gum disease, dry mouth, chronic bad breath, tooth decay, it's often worth asking, what else is happening in the body? The mouth provides valuable information about oral health. And it's my hope moving forward is to help people understand this connection. And I love the fact that we're actually able to do diagnostic salivary testing these days. Just spitting in a tube and sending it to a lab, we're able to see the complex microbes are actually living in the mouth and what potential systemic issues those microbes might have on our body in the future. It's been very telling for a lot of my patients and my clients that I work with individually to understand how their body is functioning and what they're actually at risk for in the future. Lesson number 3, digestion is foundational. One theme that has repeatedly surfaced throughout this podcast is digestion. You eat the healthiest diet in the world, but you're not digesting and absorbing nutrients well, and the body might still struggle. Digestion begins before food ever reaches your stomach. It begins actually, believe it or not, with just smelling your food, seeing your food, preparing it, and chewing. Saliva contains enzymes that begin breaking down food immediately. When we rush meals, eat under stress, in the car, which I see lots of folks eating in the car, or barely chew our food, we bypass important digestive steps. I've also learned with HTMA testing that many folks don't have enough stomach acid. Yet when I'm checking health histories day in and day out at the dental office, so many people are taking acid-reducing medications. And that will further complicate things, especially if there's not enough gastric juices. And sadly, the symptoms are exactly the same. When we have too little or when we have too much, we often have that GERD acid reflux kind of feeling or that burping sensation that goes on. It actually could be that you don't have enough. And that's one thing that the HTMA does show us is that how our body is dealing with things like stomach acid. But the health of the mouth influences the health of the gut. And the health of the gut influences the health of the mouth. Lesson number 4. The nervous system changes everything. If there's one thing our modern world struggles with, it's chronic stress. Many people spend their days in constant state of pressure, overwhelm, busyness, and mental fatigue. And when the nervous system remains stuck in survival mode, healing becomes more difficult. I want to take a moment in our podcast today to thank one of our sponsors, Survival Garden Seeds. And this next piece might feel a little different, but it's something I've become very passionate about, especially as I've gotten deeper into understanding health at a foundational level. And that's where our food comes from. Because we can talk about supplements and protocols all day, but if the foundation, our food, is lacking in nutrients, it's going to be really hard to fully support the body. And beyond that, there's also something to be said about the connection to your food and the sense of preparedness. What would happen if you couldn't run to the grocery store and get what you needed? It's not about fear, but really about empowerment. That's why I started learning more about how to grow my own food, even in a small, manageable way. And I've been using Survival Garden Seeds. They offer seed kits that are designed for long-term storage, and they make it really approachable, even if you've never even gardened before. And here's what I love most about this. It shifts you from being completely dependent to just being a little more self-sufficient. Even if you start small, even if it's just herbs and a few vegetables, it's the connection that matters. The nutrient density matters, and honestly, it feels very grounding. If this is something you've been considering, use the link in the show notes and save 10% off your first order. You don't have to do everything, but starting somewhere can really make a big difference. Now, let's get back to the show. Digestion begins to slow, sleep suffers, inflammation increases, blood sugar becomes less stable, energy decreases, and one of the most powerful wellness tools isn't a supplement. It's learning how to create moments of safety and regulation. Sometimes it looks like meditation. Some people are successful with deep breathing. Prayer can work. Journaling, walking outdoors, gardening, which I truly love, sitting quietly with a cup of tea. The body heals best when it feels safe. Lesson number 5. Nourishment is more than calories. I remember back in the day it was calories in, calories out, but that is such old science. Now we know our body is not just about calories in and calories out. We've discussed food many times on this podcast, but nourishment extends beyond food. We're nourished by relationships, purpose, rest, nature, movement, creativity, and community. And of course, food matters. Our bodies require nutrients to function. But true wellness requires more than just simply counting calories. It requires asking, what is feeding me? And equally important, what is draining me? Lesson number 6, minerals matter. This has been one of the biggest areas of learning for me in the recent years. Minerals support countless processes within the body. They're the communicators. They influence energy production, sleep, mood, hormone function, blood sugar regulation, nervous system balance, and oral health. Many people are surprised to learn how mineral imbalances can affect how they feel. And while there's no magic supplement, understanding mineral statuses can provide valuable insight into overall wellness. I know this by working with clients who have been taking these HTMA tests. They have been foundational in understanding their body's significant ratios. It's not just phosphorus or calcium or sodium or copper or zinc. It's how they work together. Sodium and potassium work with our adrenals, vitality, and stress. Calcium and potassium work with our thyroid. Even though the blood tests might show that everything is good, from a foundational or functional level, it could be that our cells just aren't able to use those TSH hormones. So looking at our significant ratios through the HTMA has been very helpful in learning about the minerals. And many times these ratios can be balanced by just adding different foods to the plate rather than another supplement or protocol. The more I learn, the more I appreciate the importance of building a strong nutritional foundation. Lesson number 7. Herbs our teachers. Of course, we can't have the 100th episode without talking about herbs, right? Herbs have been the heart of this podcast from the very beginning. One of the things I love most about herbal medicine is that it encourages us to work with the body rather than against it. Over the years, we've discussed herbs for stress support, digestion, sleep, immune health, nervous system balance. Some favorites include passion flower for calming an overactive mind, skullcap for nervous tension, lemon balm for stress and gentle mood support, chamomile for digestion and relaxation, nettle for nourishment and mineral support. Herbs remind us that wellness often grows slowly and steadily, much like our gardens. Lesson number 8. Small changes create big results. Let's talk about something that I think is massively underestimated when it comes to inflammation, and that's the fats we use every single day. Because I see this all the time. Someone's doing all the right things, they're eating clean, they're taking supplements, they're still dealing with inflammation though. And sometimes it comes down to the smallest inputs. One of the first places I look is cooking oils. A lot of commonly used oils are highly processed, unstable at high heat, and can actually contribute to inflammation in the body, which, as we know, can show up in the gums, the gut, and even beyond. So one of the simplest shifts I have made is switching to a more traditional stable fat, specifically ghee. And I wanted to highlight this because not all ghee is created equal. I personally use great ghee because it checks all the boxes that actually matter. It's organic, non-GMO, and it's made locally here in Virginia, which I love supporting. But beyond that, there's a real science behind why this matters. Ghee is rich in fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, and it contains compounds like butyrate that specifically helps support the gut and helps regulate inflammation. And because the milk solids are removed, a lot of people who are sensitive to dairy actually tolerate it very well. So this isn't just about swapping an ingredient, it's about choosing something that actually supports the body on a deeper level. And the best part? It's an easy change. You're already cooking, this just upgrades what you're cooking with. If you're working on inflammation, oral health, or even just wanting to feel better overall, this is one of those foundational shifts that can actually make a real difference. I'll link the one I like to use, Great Ghee, in the show notes. And if you'd like to try it yourself, use the code Dabney at checkout and get 10% off. It's simple, intentional changes like this that really do add up over time. Now, let's get back to the show. People often believe they need a complete life overhaul when something isn't going right. And I think that actually leads to failure because it just becomes overwhelming. But most of the time, our powerful changes come with those just small daily habits, like just remembering to drink more water, swapping out one soda for a water, going to bed earlier and being consistent with it. Taking a walk after a meal can really help reset blood sugar and help us with our sleep at night. Chewing food thoroughly. This is one that many of us rush through our busy days, just chewing, and swallowing, and I'm guilty of that as well. Cleaning the tongue. Spending 5 minutes daily, breathing deeply. Choosing one nourishing meal. It's those small actions that are repeated constantly. That's really what becomes powerful over time. So looking forward, as we enter into the next 100 episodes, I'm excited about where this podcast is headed. You'll continue hearing conversations about herbs, nutrition, lifestyle, and wellness. But we'll also be expanding our conversations to include more dental professionals and wellness experts. We're going to explore things like oral health and whole body wellness, sleep and airway health, functional testing, mineral balance, nutrition, digestion, nervous system regulation, herbal medicine, of course, which is the foundation of this podcast, and the many ways our bodies communicate with us. Because the more we learn, the more we realize that everything is connected. So, to everyone who has listened, shared an episode, left a review, been a guest, or supported this podcast over the years, thank you. It's been an incredible journey, and I truly believe that the next 100 episodes will be even better. Until next time, remember to stay curious, stay nourished, and take care of your mouth, your body, and your mind. We are the Lifestyle Herbalists, and I'll see you at the next episode.